It's safer to hang out in the contrived essence of being. At least that's what it feels like. The only problem is it's not true safety. And contrivance only brings more contrivance, which breeds death and a lack of longevity and a total insincerity of being. Welcome to the temple. We're here to totally embody the intrinsic divinity of our essence. We're here to completely and utterly embody our enlightenment. And that does not look like conformity to some abstraction, so get out of your mind all ideas and all forms and all images of patterning from the past projected into the future. Get rid of it all. You are not here to please or to satisfy any set of measurements or statistics of this world at all. To the extent you have to play the game, when at work or school or whatever, you can go ahead and ham it up. You can get theatrical in the sense of you are at liberty to wear whatever masks you'd like to wear or feel that you need to wear or want to wear to navigate any particular situation. But you remain untouched in here. You keep the purity, the innocence, the openness, the beauty of this space completely clean and clear inside of yourself. And it will feel incorrect at first, or if you're trying to do it from the place of contrivance or ego, it'll feel incorrect. But if you're in consciousness, you see there's absolutely nothing incorrect about it whatsoever. You see, when you look at the world and you see the people playing their parts, they're wearing masks. It's a game, it's a theater. But the game of the theater is to pretend that the game is not a game, that the theater is not theater. And so if you are sincere as a soul, you think, okay, there's something wrong with me, because everyone else is playing their part very well, and I'm the one odd duck, the lame one that's just not able to keep up with everybody else. The reality is that you simply have not conceded to the fact that it's a game. And everyone else is playing the game that the game is not a game. But it's a game. Even if someone puts a gun to your head and says, you better say it's real, that's a game. You see, people are willing to kill to prove that the game is not a game. It's a game. And when you see it's a game, when you know it's a game, you're totally free. You're completely and utterly free. No matter how angry they get, and they will get angry, let them get angry. Let the world's blood boil. Let it. Let it. It's a fucking game. And when you're aware of the eternal nature of the soul, of the true self, which is completely free, unbound, unbridled, unbroken, clear, clean, pristine, pure love, pure joy, pure exuberance, pure peace, pure energy, pure vitality, the very pure essence of being, which cannot fit into any box. It is both masculine and feminine, neither masculine nor feminine, and altogether beyond being either, both, or neither masculine or feminine. It encompasses everything and excludes nothing. And when everything is together in one, it's altogether beyond anything that could ever possibly be said about it. It's impossible to express it in terms of form in a way that's adequate. Impossible. You can jump from one label to another, you can move around from aesthetic to aesthetic to aesthetic, and if you're trying to finally find a final form of expression that encapsulates the whole thing, you will never find it. Because it includes all form, and in any given place and point in space and time, there can only be one form. The form may change and alternate throughout space and time, but within any given point in space and time, there's only one form, particularly, right? Obviously. But what you are is not that form. What you are includes all form. And so you can never find that final form in which all form is in this one place displayed. Now, all form is right here, but as formlessness, because all form is formlessness. And so if you know yourself as that ultimate formlessness, which can take and does take all form, because every form that appears, that has ever appeared, or that will ever appear, is you. You are all form. You are every man, you are every woman, you are every intersex individual, you are every being. You are every gender, you are every sex, you are every sexuality, you are every ethnicity, you are every culture, you are every animal and all of its permutations, you are every tree, you are every rock, every mountain, every ocean, every fish, every star, every galaxy, every universe, every multiverse, every god, every spirit. You are everything, all at once. And in any given position in space-time, there can only be one appearance at a time. This is this. This looks like this. It doesn't look like this. This looks like this right here and right now, and one day it won't. One day it'll be gone, right? And it could even be painted and dyed, and it can be modified, and you can stitch different things to it and unstitch other things, and so on, so on, so on. Same thing with everything. The hair can only be what it is at a time. You can cut it, you can let it grow, you can put 20 different colors in it, but it is what it is at any given time. And it's always growing and always breaking. That's the nature of form in every single way. So if you're trying to find that final form that feels that it encapsulates the sum totality of everything that you are, whether aesthetically or verbally or conceptually, you won't find it. You can't find it. Because there's no such form. The final form is that form which includes everything, and that form is the entire universe, or the entire multiverse, or the entire collection of all multiverses. As one thing, as one that is so one, it's zero, you see? Zero is the answer. All is zero. And when you can rest in that, then you can allow whatever form is here to simply appear. And whatever fun you're going to have with the form, you can do it. You can wear whatever clothing you like. You can put on whatever makeup or no makeup. You can do what you like with your hair or your beard. Or anything you like. Anything you like. And there's no obligation to do anything in particular. You're free to pattern or not to pattern. And you're free to pattern however you'd like. Whatever the natural patterning is, whatever arises. And natural doesn't mean leaving things undyed. Or uncut, or whatever. You can't control nature. You don't get to decide what nature is by any contrivance of mind or society or architecture or anthropology or your conception of biology or of physics or anything. You don't know what it is. Nature is nature. It is of itself so. It speaks for itself. It reveals itself spontaneously. And the entirety of nature is continuum. And that continuum, mathematically speaking, within the realm of form, runs along a bell curve. So every atom contains everything, in truth. Every soul, every human being contains everything. So to fix yourself into a particular slot of form and to try to keep yourself perpetually and eternally identified with that is insane. That's the root of our global insanity. And the game that everybody in the world is playing is, nope, this is my form, and this is my one form, and this is my... That's why everyone's fucking crazy, you see? And you're never going to find home or sanity in finding a new box, or a bigger box, or a bigger label. Our whole journey of labels is going from a smaller box to a bigger box to a bigger box to a bigger box. But finally, you see, there's no box that can contain you. You are that which contains all boxes, and which itself cannot be boxed. So you can play whatever role you want. Play this mask, and people will say, hey, you're switching masks. Yeah. Because I am that which is maskless. I have no mask. I am not a mask. I have no form. I am not this body. I am all body. I am all form. I am all shape and all place and all time. This is a body, and this is a form of a body. And that form may be completely different tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. It may even be different 5 minutes from now. But a true human being is not dependent on form to know anything. You know something beneath the level of form. And so let the world be confused. Let people be confused. If they're confused, it's because they're violent. You see? People that need to keep things in a certain way like that, that's violence. And you're under no obligation to submit to that at all, for any reason. If you want to put on a mask and play the game, and they say, get serious, and you're like, oh yes, I'll be serious. But you never ever fucking let anybody or anything in to control your essence, your soul, your spirit, your being, or your nervous system, or your mind for that matter. Play a role. Play whatever game you fucking want to play or need to play in order to get, that's right, to get by in this cruel world, you see? So when the boss says, get serious, okay. But you know it's a fucking joke. And you know how to play the part well. You can play the part well. But when you seem to see people that really think that they are their parts, they're crazy. They're insane. and you know they're insane. Everyone's a clown pretending not to be. But if you know that you are that clown, if you know that you are that divine trickster, that sacred fool, which is not something to be frightened of. People hear the word trickster and they go, oh, trickster, trickster. That's a sign that they are a low-level trickster. That means ego. You're either in ego or you're in consciousness. There's no in between. Ego is a mask pretending not to be a mask. Consciousness is pure formlessness, that which wears all masks and which has the option to wear no mask at all. That's what you are. So simply stay here as formlessness and tell the truth to yourself and to the world about formlessness, about who you really are. That what you are can't be boxed. You can jump into any box you'd like and play the part for a time, like acting on a stage or playing pretend with your friends. Whatever game you're playing, and then you come off it. You can't play a game forever and stay sane. Right? So, the best thing we can do for ourselves is to be totally surrendered to our sanity. And you stay surrendered to your sanity by remembering that all form is pretense. All form is pretense. This body is a pretense. It must be taken care of a certain way, so take care of the body. But fundamentally, it's a pretense. And all roles derived of the psyche for the sake of social interfacing in terms of commerce or politics or society or family or whatever. It's a game. It's unreal. It's a pretense. And the minute you point out the pretense of it, people get angry. No, this is me. This is who I really am. No, it's not. It's a mask. People really identify deeply with the aspects of the mask, with the aspects of the role, of the game, of the pretense. And they're willing to kill to prove that the pretense is not a pretense, that the mask is not a mask. It's a mask. It's part of play. It's part of fun. It's part of enjoyment. And the degree and depth to which this is heard and understood is a reflection of the degree of intelligence to which the listener is willing to surrender. If you hear this and hear frivolousness, that's an indication of your frivolousness. But if you are aware of the depth of this transmission, the depth of this awareness, then that's a reflection of the fact that you are willing to surrender to your own true depth. So you can't get anybody to hear or understand what they don't want to hear and understand. People will only hear and understand to the depth to which they are willing to actually face the truth and the reality of who they really are, and of what God really is, and of what the truth of being, love, and life and death really are. And you're not going to get the world to stop being afraid of death. How could you? That would be a totally enlightened world. And then it wouldn't be functioning like this. There would be housing and food and water and education and healthcare and universal basic income and access to utilities and amenities. We would take care of that, and then we would focus on much, much higher pursuits. You see? We don't realize that as long as we're struggling categorically in terms of survival and competition between dead archetypes, that we're totally neglecting and ignoring the vast aspect, the qualities, the fantastic field of intelligence that is being human. We're focused in on this little tiny thing that's literally a fucking dead puppet being necromanted, which is the entire structure of this whole world, and it appears so big. But it's a dead thing being pulled like a puppet. That's why it smells like rotting flesh, because it is. You see? So the difference between ego and consciousness is the chasm between heaven and hell. It's not crossable. When one ends, the other begins. And the only reality is that heaven. The only reality is that consciousness. Ego isn't even real. It's an illusion. It's a joke. It's a fiction. It's a figment of the imagination. It's illusion. It's delusion. And 99% plus are totally drunk on that delusion. So If you have to appear to, and you can walk, if you walk around in the world screaming freely, which please give it a try, enjoy it. But then you have to go, you see, people can't take it. They'll try to lock you up and call you crazy and whatever. And so it's worthwhile knowing how to pretend to be a character. So play the part of a character. But don't get identified, stuck with one particular character. You can play whatever character you want. That's freedom. Because underneath it all, you're not a character. Nobody is. But everybody pretends to be. So don't get sucked into that game. That's suffering. Be free. Play whatever role you need to play, however you need to play it. And if you do it in consciousness, it's always done with love and with compassion and deep intelligence and wisdom. Otherwise, it's being done as the egos do it, for greed and selfishness and violence and destruction and cruelty and hatred and whatever, under the guise of ambition and whatever the hell. It's all the same thing. So stay free. Stay completely free. Stay free. No matter what. Freedom is God. Freedom is love. And this is what you are. It's what we are anyway. It's what we are anyway. Can't do anything about it. It is what it is. And the only people who are frightened of this are people who are violent, who wish to perpetuate violence, and who think they have something to gain out of continuing to remain in the mode of violence. You see? But the moment you see that this entire civilizational structure is built of violence, sustained in violence, and therefore, as long as it persists in its own violence, must come to an end in its own violence, you see, oh, what a fucking ruse. And if you've got to navigate it to some extent to get food or water or shelter or whatever, then fucking you got to do what you got to do. If you're in it, then you can walk maskless. That's totally fine. And you can see what happens when you walk maskless, and you can walk with a mask on. It's totally fine. As a human being, you have to put a mask on to be able to speak, to be able to talk. And so the mask of the shaman, or the mask of the yogi, or the mask of the enlightened being, or the mask of God, so to speak, is the mask that can essentially emulate or play any mask. But then even that ultimate mask, the God mask itself, can even come down. And then there's simply pure God, or pure energy, pure formlessness here. You see? So there is the ultimate mask, and then there's all the minor masks, and you can play with any mask you want. But finally, mask is a mask, and you can take it down. The difference between an enlightened being and an ego is that the ego pretends that its mask is not a mask, whereas the enlightened being knows that every mask is a mask, and the mask is not who you are, and you can take it down and simply be free. And there's an incredible, seriousness is almost the wrong word, but one who is in enlightenment is incredibly sincere, totally serious about truth, about love, about being, totally dedicated to love, to compassion, to divinity, completely dedicated to it, unwilling to actually step into corruption, the corruption of violence and the corruption of stupidity and the corruption of that entire structure of garbage. And so that's freedom. Refusing to feed, refusing to be a vampire, and refusing to be vampirized, not touching it. You can put on the mask and go, oh, ho, 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 or whatever the fuck. You can shimmy through the dance floor wearing whatever mask you want, or no mask at all. But you don't take it seriously. Now, if you have to play a role very precisely, you do it. But when I say you don't take it seriously, I mean you don't actually start believing that you are that role. And even if someone else comes to you and insists, no, I am this, you know it's true. There are no men or women here. There aren't even human beings. There are no black people or white people or gray people. There are no people. There are no human beings. There are no men and women. There are no races. There are no nationalities. It's all a joke. It's a game. It's a play. And if you know this, you're free. You're totally free. Even if people want to kill you to prove that their mask is not a mask. It's a mask. You contain all qualities and are intrinsically beyond all quality. Nothing can ever change this. Truth is truth is truth. Love is love is love. Peace is peace is peace. Joy is joy is joy. Ecstasy is ecstasy is ecstasy, baby. You can't fucking fight it. The Buddha is Buddha is Buddha is Buddha. Christ is Christ is Christ is Christ. God is God is God is God. I is I is I is I. Done. Love. Much love.